is. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Labor Day weekend, and welcome to another episode of Ryno's Rants. We have officially hit the opening week for the National Football League. Good evening, Reggie. Good evening, my worthless opinion. Good evening, Nick. How you guys doing? We have real and meaningful football starting Thursday night with the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs going at it. So that ought to be an interesting start to the thing. Good evening, Raymond. How you doing? I don't have a whole lot this week. I got a few things we're going to talk about: the Justin Jefferson situation, TJ Hockenson stuff, and a few season predictions and concerns. So if you guys got anything you want to talk about, make sure you put it in the comment section as we go along here. We're just going to kind of do a little bit of a free-for-all tonight. As it's been a holiday weekend, people are coming and going, and that kind of stuff hasn't been a whole lot of new stuff the last few days. But a couple of quick items, I guess I saw today. The Vikings went back and signed N'Keal Harry to the practice squad. Apparently, they must have saw a little bit they liked from him when he was here before and then got injured in training camp. But he is now on the practice squad. And to make room for him, they released center/guard Alan Ali. We now have, I believe, 4 wide receivers on the practice squad, and we can basically field an entire second team of wide receivers if necessary. But hey, it's a practice squad. Doesn't mean a whole lot, I guess. What's everyone drinking? Nick, I am just drinking good old water tonight. I think I had enough of the adult beverages over the weekend at the lake, so I got to work tomorrow, so no more of that. Good evening, Dave. Welcome back. So anyway, the official numbers finally came out on the TJ Hockenson deal. I know Lance and I talked about the contract value and stuff on Friday, but the Over the Cap now has the official breakdown out that came out either late Friday or over the weekend at some point in time. But let's take a look at the numbers and kind of see what we're looking at here. So for 2023, he only carries a cap number of $4.99 million, which is actually considerably less than what his cap number was prior to the signing. I think it was like 9.5 on the 5th-year option. So gives us a little more cap space to deal with for this year, which will likely be used for another signing here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Then you start looking at the cap numbers as we go down. 2024, 14.1 cap number. That's more than reasonable. Even 2025, he has a $15.1 million hit. Of that, 10.8 is in dead money, 4.3 in savings. When 2026, 2027 roll around, the final 2 years of the deal, then the cap number does go up significantly. 19.6 million for 2026, 21.6 million for 2027. Now the nice thing though is if something happens in the next 3 to 4 years, once you hit 2026, it's not that bad to get out from underneath that contract. There's not a whole lot of dead money left. I mean, you're looking at basically 10.8 million in dead money over the final 2 years of that deal if it gets to the point where the Vikings want to get out from underneath that deal. So it's a big number contract, of course. Total cap number of $75.4 million. But, it does a couple of things there. It gets Hockenson to the point where he wanted to quote unquote reset the tight end market with an average annual value of 17.125. He is, as of right now anyway, the highest paid tight end in the league per average annual value, beating Darren Waller's $17 million. But in reality, it's a much more team-friendly deal and probably allows for a little bit more movement around, which, of course, shocked they didn't bring back Jalen Reagor. Reagor didn't clear waivers. I think they might, if he would have cleared, they might have brought him back. But New England actually submitted the waiver claim for him, I believe. So he's on their practice squad. They didn't sign him to the active. I don't think he signed to the active roster right at the moment. But somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe he cleared and they just signed him after that. I don't remember, I guess. But I guess I would have taken Reagor back over N'Keal Harry, but I suppose Reagor wouldn't have came back on the practice squad. Maybe, I don't know. GMAC, good evening. But I would say we're probably done for the most part now with the roster moves coming up into this week, because there's not anything much more, I guess, unless they decide they want to bring in a Dalton Reisner or something like that. But I would guess at this point in time, if they are to bring in somebody like that, it wouldn't be until Monday morning when it comes in out, for vested veterans, salaries aren't guaranteed and that kind of stuff. But anyway, last thing on that TJ Hockenson deal. Hockenson thankfully is back practicing now, and he should be ready to play Sunday against Tampa Bay. I guess that inner ear infection and sore back miraculously cleared up once the weight of the contract negotiations came off of his shoulders. So it must have relieved a lot of the pain, and he seems to be fine now. Pretty unkept secret, I guess, that he was actually staging a hold-in. It's kind of funny how they just manipulate this. No, oh yeah, he's hurt, he's doing this, he's doing that. No, I'm just not practicing because I want a new contract, kind of thing. But they didn't make a big deal about it in the media. His camp wasn't going out and complaining about it, or he wasn't taking to social media and posting stupid crap on his Instagram and things like that. Good evening, Skull for Life. So deal's done. Hockenson is here for the foreseeable future, which moves us on to the other major contract at hand to be looking at, and that is of one Justin Jefferson. Rumors are still rolling around that most people expect something to probably get done yet this week. I know Darren Wolfson on KSTP here late last week. I believe he was on, this came off of Mackey and Judd show, saying that the overall contract numbers are pretty well in line with what the Vikings and Jefferson are talking about. They're just haggling over guaranteed money now. So I would expect that to happen at any point in time. Reggie hoping tomorrow. That would be great. Get it done early enough so we don't have that distraction going on during game prep and things like that. I would think it'll be done in principle by midweek, I would think, at the latest. Maybe they'll wait to announce it Sunday morning or something like that. I don't know, but it's going to get done. We all know it's going to get done. It just would be nice to get that crossed off the list and get it out of the way so we can just concentrate on playing football, which Jefferson has said, to his credit, the whole time, that's his main concern. He doesn't, he understands the whole deal of the life-changing contract, but his main goal is to win a Super Bowl. So he's saying all the right things, and the team, to their credit, the team has not, I guess, given a whole lot of position to bargain. And Kwesi coming out earlier in the year saying he doesn't want to be the GM of a team that doesn't have Justin Jefferson and, that kind of stuff. And we've all talked about it for however long, that the initial negotiations were sliding a piece of paper and a pen across the table and telling Jefferson's camp to just write down what number that they're thinking about. We saw Hockenson, quote unquote, reset the tight end market. Justin Jefferson is going to reset the wide receiver market. Skull for life. JJ isn't the diva that some of the others are. That is 100% factual. And another one of the great things about Jefferson, he's not that, for lack of a better term, doing the stuff like Stephon Diggs did when he was here, and then stuff he's been cryptically doing up in Buffalo now, or some of your guys that have been famous divas in the past, your Antonio Browns or your Keyshawn Johnsons or your insert name of diva wide receiver here. But just kind of guessing on Jefferson's contract, it would not surprise me one bit to see the average annual value pushing up close to $35 million. Most likely in that 32 to 33, but I could see it going a little bit higher than that. Biggest thing I think Jefferson's camp is kind of holding on to, both he and, of course, Joey Bosa in San Francisco are negotiating, and I think they're waiting for the other one to blink first because they both want to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. So when one signs, the other one will sign for $32 million and $1 if the other one's $32 million or just something like that, just for that whole semantics and saying that they're the highest paid player and yada, yada, yada. But at this point, it is what it is. It's going to happen. Just would be nice to get it done and over with prior to the game on Sunday, so it's behind us and ready to roll from that, I guess. But beyond that, kind of look ahead here a little bit to the upcoming 2023 season. Some of the concerns I have, I guess, some of the predictions of things like that, a few maybe hot takes I'll look at. One other thing I guess I forgot to mention here when we start off, came out today that Kyle Rudolph is going to come back and do that ceremonial one-day contract and retire as a Minnesota Viking. They plan to honor him week 3-ish, I believe, tentatively right now against the Los Angeles Chargers. So that's something to look forward to for any of you guys that are heading to the game on week 3. Don't understand the infatuation being highest paid, etc. It only lasts a day or two anyway. You are absolutely correct on that, GMAC. But it's these guys are athletes. They have big egos. It's a little feather in their cap that they can say that they were the highest paid non-quarterback of, in the NFL for however long. Lions fans talking shit. They're trading for Chris Jones after the game on Thursday. I have heard rumors that there may be a trade speculation or trade thing starting to fire up on Chris Jones. Just because I heard today that his camp and the Chiefs are like $9 million apart in salary expectations. So, they definitely have to come to some sort of a consensus there because that $9 million isn't going to get compromised and negotiated in a couple of days. So I would be surprised if Chris Jones actually plays on Thursday. Maybe it happens, but even if he signs, he's not going to be really in game shape, I don't think. But all I can say is I really would not want to see Chris Jones in Detroit. I could do without that, but Josh, still make that mistake. It's still San Diego to me. Yeah, it is to me too. It's the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, or however you want to put it. I mean, I still make the same mistake with the Raiders saying Oakland yet too, but guy gets used to it after a while. But of course, in Los Angeles, nobody really cares about football down there anyway. They just want it in the market. But sometimes it's the athlete, sometimes it's the agent. Yeah, that is true. Of course, the agent gets a percentage of whatever the guy gets. So if they think they can squeeze more blood out of a turnip, they're going to do it. And I mean, to their credit, that's what the player is paying these agents to do, is to negotiate on their behalf and get the best deal possible. Very rarely do you have, you get the hometown discounts once in a while. You have what Harrison Smith did at the beginning of this year when his agent was getting calls from other teams, potentially interested in Harry if we would have let him go. And, Harry, to his credit, said, no, tell him I'm not going anywhere. We're going to make it work in Minnesota. He wants to finish his career here, so on and so forth. So, I mean, those instances are pretty rare, and they're getting even more rare. Where you got like Aaron Rodgers in New York taking a $35 million pay cut basically so he can flip the Packers the bird and let the Jets pick up Dalvin Cook and whoever else that they're picking up. But, some of that's just spitefulness, from Rodgers especially. But, with Harrison Smith, that's just a dedication to the team and loyalty and, wanting to stay with the team that he's been with his entire career. So, Nick, he'd line up all sides. Yeah, still, I prefer not to have to go against him twice a year. So it's bad enough they got Aiden Hutchinson and some of these other guys they brought in on defense. We don't need them to have Jones too. Anyway, just kind of looking ahead a little bit more to the 2023 season. As Lance and I have talked about, that offensive line, especially the interior, still scares me. Can Ingram take a step forward this year? I hope to hell he can. Didn't look all that great, in the limited playing time he got in the preseason, but, I guess we'll see there. My biggest thought, aside of Ingram, is with Garrett Bradbury, is he going to play this year like he played for most of last year, improved over his past performances and being better at not getting forklifted into the fourth row every time some legit nose tackle is lining up on the other side of him? Or is he going to revert back to the old Garrett Bradbury now that he got paid? His left foot needs to take a step forward. Yeah, stop stepping on Kirk's feet. That would be a big improvement. The other thing with Bradbury that concerns me yet is, is that back injury that he suffered last year, is that going to continue to bother him? Is that going to be, something chronic that ends up limiting him? I mean, we saw it with, I think it was John Sullivan had that when he was here, and he was never really the same. Hate to bring this up, but is Risner happening or not? At this point in time, GMAC, I'm going to say it's not. I don't know why it's not, but if I was to guess, I would say no. Now, if we get 3-4 weeks into the season and Kirk's getting absolutely obliterated up the middle because either Ingram or Cleveland can't keep a guy out of the middle, then there's a definite possibility that they could make that phone call. Like I said, I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall during those talks and everything else to see what there was that the Vikings didn't like when they talked to him, or, was it, as we speculated before, that Ryno wanted a guarantee that he was going to be a starter, and Vikings weren't prepared to give that to him. But then, he goes out there and he's liking all these Vikings related tweets and stuff on Instagram and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's a wink, wink, nod, nod thing. Maybe, they're going to bring him in after week 1 or something. I don't really know, but he might be a Bear by then. Let's hope not. Just dumbfounded why he's not on the roster. Yeah, I mean, it's a mystery, and we've talked about it at length for the last month or however long it's been since we had him in here as to why they didn't sign him. If there had to have been something from one side or the other, and I'm thinking it's more from the Vikings side of things than it is from his, because like I said, he's been following the Vikings tweets and that kind of stuff and acting like he wants to be here. There is that stigma about him of having a bit of an attitude problem in the locker room sometimes. He shoved Russell Wilson last year, whatever it was, at one point in time, although Russell Wilson deserved more than that for the way he played last year. But, myself personally, I want an asshole especially on an interior offensive line. We've talked about that before too, a Steve Hutchinson type, somebody who's got nasty to him and got an edge to him and can back it up. And maybe the money, there is that possibility as well. Maybe the Vikings told him, this is what we can pay you. We need to get Justin Jefferson taken care of first. We need to get TJ Hockenson taken care of first. If you get a better deal, by all means, go ahead. But, and maybe that's what it is, that they want to make sure that they have enough to cover Hockenson and Jefferson first. And if they have enough after that, maybe they give him a call and he comes in next week. I mean, it's entirely possible. He might be here later in the week and just, wouldn't be active for Sunday's game, of course, but got to be something that isn't anybody else signed him. Yeah, and that's the weird thing, Reg. He's a good guard. He's a good pass blocking guard, and why nobody else has signed him is kind of odd to me. I guess there's something not quite right there, and I don't know what it is. But Green Bay had an offensive lineman go down. Is it one of their starters or was it a backup? I guess I haven't been on social media much this weekend. I've been down, kind of off the grid a little bit down to Lake, but I have to look into that, and we can, we'll talk about that later on this week or something too, if necessary. But as far as other stuff, I'm going to get off the offensive line now because we've talked about that way more than we need to, and we do that every year. But anyway, just some kind of hot take predictions, I guess, from my side of things for this year. I'm going on the record right now saying we're not going to get 13 wins like we did last year. I think we're going to be a better team, but I think the record might be a little worse, just strength of schedule, all that other stuff. I think we're going to go 11-6. You guys can mark that down and tell me I'm full of shit at the end of the year if it doesn't happen that way, but I think that's fair, and I think that wins the NFC North. Offensive side of things, I think we got the potential to have a top 5 offense this year. Kirk, with the weapons that we've got now, if again, back to that offensive line, if they can keep him upright and not get killed every time he drops back to pass, I think there's a very strong possibility Kirk throws for over 5,000 yards this year. I mean, he had 4,500 yards last year. And now we are adding Jordan Addison to the mix, along with some other weapons coming in there. I think Addison is going to break out, and Jordan Addison is going to be in the mix for the Offensive Rookie of the Year. mean, he's already getting comparisons to Justin Jefferson. I mean, when the team is heaping that kind of praise on this kid already, a lot of national media is saying we're getting a wild card at best. Yeah, because they're all riding Detroit's jock right at the moment. Detroit's the darlings of the North. And then, of course, everybody thinks Justin Fields is going to go from running back to Hall of Fame quarterback over the span of the last 3 months. I don't see it. The Lions are still the Lions until they prove that they're not. I don't think Chicago's going to be that good. I think Chicago is probably a 6, maybe a 7-win team. Green Bay, I think, is a 7. I'm going to pick Green Bay at 7-10. Detroit is going to be a 9-8, 10-6 type team. I think we go 11-6. We win the division. The defense, I think, starting off, it could be a little bit ugly starting off. Just Flores' defense typically starts slow. And, hey, Justin, good evening. So it may take a few weeks for that defense to mesh and to gel. But I think by the end of the season, they're going to be at bare minimum a top 20, pushing top 15 on the defense, I believe. We got a lot of youth in that back end. That's going to be a definite telling factor. I think we're going to be able to get significant pressure on offenses just because that's how Flores' defenses work. So, and as we talked about, Jordan Addison pushing for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I would not be shocked to see Ivan Pace Jr. in the discussion for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think this kid is going to be something very special. We've talked about that ever since we drafted him. Might be a little overly optimistic on that. He's going to struggle in certain spots, but I just love the way that intensity that kid plays with, the chip on his shoulder. Everybody's saying that he can't do it. He's too small. He's that and that. He's going to take that as ammunition, and he is going out there and he is going to completely and totally blow people up, I think. So I am very excited to see what he can do. It'll be interesting when he starts getting against some of these big offensive linemen. Now, we have seen him move some of these 300-pound guys, or being able to get underneath them with, it's a lot of it is about leverage. Him being a little bit shorter, he can get underneath those pads a little bit more and move those guys out of the way if he has to. Going to take everything they said we couldn't have and apologize for nothing. Absolutely, Reggie. I agree with that 100%. Just like we don't have to apologize for winning 13 games last year. We don't apologize for anything that this team accomplishes this year. There is getting a little steam in certain areas. I forget who it was, some national guy here. I don't know if it was on Fox Sports or something earlier last week, actually predicted the Vikings to make the NFC Championship game this coming year, which I would be more than okay with. If we get that far, I would rather go to the Super Bowl, but expectations as they are. Vikings and Lions have similarities. Offenses are great. Defenses not so much. They kept everything about the same. We didn't. Yeah, I mean, they've got some good pieces on that defense. I said, Aiden Hutchinson is an animal. I'm a big fan of his, even though he plays against us. But I think the X factor is going to be the fact that we don't have Ed Donatel and that 3-high shell pseudo prevent defense anymore that we had last year. Flores is going to, just him here is probably worth 7 to 8 positions in defensive rankings, just on that alone. And I think there's going to be some improvement. In the secondary, Mekhi Blackman is going to be playing early and often. Again, Doogie Wolfson talked to him, I don't remember if it was over the weekend or late last week, and he had mentioned that the plans are for him to play a significant role starting next Sunday against Tampa. Again, Caleb Evans, if he can stay healthy, I think he's good to take a step forward this year. Byron Murphy Jr. is a very good cornerback, so he's got to keep those young guys in line back there. Can Booth stay healthy? That's a big thing. Josh, I just don't see where we get worse. Can't say the same from that team for Wisconsin or Detroit. I don't know that Detroit's going to be any worse. Another year in that thing. I mean, Dan Campbell is building something over there. He's a meathead, but they're buying into what he's selling, and they're going to be good. And I believe they're a wild card team this year, and they're going to fight us for the division. I mean, it could come down to the last couple of games as to who wins the North and who goes in as a wild card. But like I said, until they prove that the running game is a loss, Jameer Gibbs, I don't know, is he as good as DeAndre Swift and Jamal Adams from last year? I don't know. But, their passing game, Amon-Ra St. Brown is turning into a very nice wide receiver in this league. Jamison Williams, of course, he's missing 6 games, which isn't going to help things out. And he hadn't really showed much other than that. I think he got hurt as well in preseason. So Gibbs is going to be a problem. He could be. I wouldn't have drafted him as high up as they did. I think it was a 12th they took him, something like that. But I guess we'll see how he does. I mean, he could turn out. He could be just another guy. I don't know. GMAC, hard to imagine a defense or Flores defense being anything like last season. It won't. I mean, it's just in the ideology alone, it's nothing similar to what it is. I mean, Flores is going to – I would not be surprised on Sunday going against Baker Mayfield to have them bringing the house on almost every opportunity that when he drops back to pass, because as we've seen with Baker Mayfield in the past, if you can get him flustered, he's going to fall apart, and you can have a heyday against him. And I think they're going to try to establish that very early. And, I wouldn't surprise me one bit to see some sort of a play like we had with Jay Ward against the Cardinals in that final preseason game, on that first snap from their offense. They're going to be sending 1-2 guys at least, I think, off the corners and trying to, establish that tempo early, I think. But GMAC, you need to be amazing to be a first-round running back. Absolutely. I thought there was only one running back worth taking in the first round this year, but apparently Detroit thought that Gibbs was that kind of a guy, or they figured they weren't going to be able to get him, late, if they would have traded back into the first round or up into the beginning of the second round to try to get him later. I don't know. Their draft was a little questionable, in my opinion, up on the top end, I guess. But Reggie, defense scores at least 1 touchdown on Sunday. Would not surprise me at all, and I would like to see that. I think that's good. I think, we talked about this before. Harrison Smith, this is the defense he was made to play in, and I think he's going to have one of his better seasons, even at his advanced age that he's at now. I wouldn't be surprised to all see him have a handful or, half a dozen interceptions this year. I think he had 4 or 5 last year, but I could expect that from him this year. Plus, they're going to bring him in on blitzes and stuff like Zimmer used to do. So I expect a big year from him. Danielle Hunter, I think, is going to thrive in this defense. Marcus Davenport, question mark on the other side. Hopefully he's good for 7 or 8 sacks. I think Hunter can push 15. He had 10 last year. And we won't be dropping him back in coverage on every third play this year, so I think there's a very good opportunity for him to get more in terms of sacks. Minnesota deserves a Super Bowl win. Why not this year? We've been saying that since 1961. But yeah, it's got to happen one of these years. Now is the year. Why not? I agree with that 100%. I mean, this, with the way things are going, very likely could be the last year of Kirk Cousins. Just from a contract standpoint, we're already paying Hockenson. We got to pay Jefferson. We're going to have to pay Darisaw. Paying $40+ million to a quarterback, I don't know is in the cards. I'm not going to get down that road tonight because we'll save that for later on. Kirk is the guy this year going forward. I think he's going to have a very good year. Like I said, I predict him to throw for 5,000 yards this year. So with the weapons we've got, Josh Oliver, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people this year. He's got the reputation of just being a blocking tight end, being over in Baltimore, but the guy is built like a skyscraper out there. I mean, big, tall dude. His hands are very good. They're very underrated. So I think he's going to surprise a lot of people as well. So I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for the season to start, and I can't wait. I expect good things from this team this year, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. But Kirk tosses for 5,000. Need to extend him. If we win, we'll see what happens in the playoffs. I mean, if we're one and done in the playoffs, I don't think there's any way he gets re-signed. If we win a couple of games in the playoffs and make the conference championship game, then that's something we can talk about. But Kirk's contract discussion is another discussion for another day, so we're going to leave it at that. You guys got anything else you want to hit here quick before we call it a night? We've been rolling here about 40 minutes, and about all we have. Kirk haters say all 5,000 yards are garbage time. Yeah, I mean, right now, if you got, complained about how Kirk played last year, if you're bitching about that, you just want something to bitch about. Everybody looks back to that fourth down throw, which, yeah, he should not have thrown that. He should have tossed it up to Jefferson, but Kirk wasn't the reason we lost that game. The reason we lost that game is now in the unemployment line, and the reason we lost that game got Daniel Jones a hellacious contract with the Giants. So, but anyway, with that, want to thank all you guys for watching, coming in on a holiday to join me once again. Love talking ball with you guys. GMAC, Jared, Reggie, Josh, Worthless Opinion, Skull for Life, Dan, Nick, all you guys, Dave, of course, the godfather of Vikings content creation. Want to thank the Filipino fan club over there watching again, halfway around the world. Nonoy, Jen, BB, Wilma, Miss G, everybody over there. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. For the rest of the week, of course, we have Brunswick's Best coming out on Wednesday, where he's going to look at the players who have worn number 19. We have, of course, our standard studio show on Friday at 6, where we are going to do we'll be previewing the Tampa Bay game, and planning on having a special guest with Lance and I on Friday. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to get some insight from another very knowledgeable Vikings fan who is going to come on and help us out here a little bit. So get a little different perspective maybe, and kind of go through all of that. Of course, remember later on here tonight, go check out Justin's show over there on Purple and Gold for Days. He's got a live show coming up here at 8 o'clock. When you're done with that one, go back to Vikings First and Skull. Check out the Real Forno show that aired earlier tonight. And, of course, all the other content out there, too. Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, Under the Lights, Minnesota Sports Talk, GG Sportscast, all those guys, you know, the Vikings content creation family. Check them all out. Subscribe if you haven't to our channel, to their channel, all of that. And again, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Check us out Wednesday for Brunswick's Best and studio show previewing the Tampa Bay season opener on Friday. With that, ladies and gentlemen, have a good rest of your evening. Skol Vikes.